Ladies, gentlemen, and deities of all ages, welcome back to another video. I know it's been a few days since I've uploaded, but I've been in the kitchen cooking up some real spicy stuff. So, I'm almost done with my playthrough on Demonic, and I feel like now that I've done that, I'm able to very confidently say that my builds actually work on every single level of difficulty without having people tell me it doesn't work. So, this is not a proof of concept video anymore, this is just proof that it actually works. So, very, very excited to share with you guys a tank build that you guys probably already have seen from the thumbnail as to which class I'm going to use. But also, this is one of my favorite new ways to play the game, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It's disgustingly powerful, so without much further ado, let's get back into it. You're seeing Gwyn on your screen. I can guarantee you this is not a build for Gwyn. So let's go ahead and show you the unit and the class that we are going to use, and that is GODfrost Zuhair. Now, you might be surprised to see this because Zuhair has pretty middling stats all around. He doesn't start with any particularly strong defense or fortitude or anything, and there's probably two very standout stats that you can see here, which is how the hell did Link get his mastery all the way to 39, and why is the HP 84? All will be explained. Now, he has very good base growth in the HP as a Fragilin, which is his starting class, so let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the pathway to GODfrost, because it's a little bit more complex than it might seem. Now, Fragilin is his starting class, and with Fragilin, he has good HP and might growths, but everything else is pretty non-standout. And this is really important because, yeah, the defense and fortitude will grow evenly, but he won't get that high fortitude that you really want him to have. Mages will be very strong in the late game, and they are some of the hardest hitting enemies, so you really want a pretty robust fortitude. And why the high mastery? Well, it's pretty simple. Most of your skills scale based off your mastery stat, and in order to tank, GODfrost actually has a very, very important skill that we'll get to in a little bit. But let's talk about a secondary class first, and how we're going to build that mastery. Now, you could go Monk. Monk is a great class for everyone, but he'll have that low defense growth, and the fortitude and the mastery will be okay, acceptable. You really don't need the speed and the dexterity, and dumping the might I'm not a big fan of. Gale, just a bad class in general. You shouldn't go this. It focuses on speed, has bad defenses, the mastery is pretty middling. So what does that leave us with? Well, you can stay Fragilin. Not a great idea, because Fragilin, again, is a pretty mediocre class. It's not very good, and Zuhair will struggle, especially if you're playing on Demonic. You want a unit that you can justify deploying. You don't want one that's going to be a hindrance up until you get to that tier 3. You want a contributor. And I can confidently say that Conduit Zuhair was one of my best contributors in Demonic for two reasons. The first one, look at his growths. 55% might, 55% fortitude, and 70% mastery. This is huge. Why? Because it lets him do damage. And you want to do damage. Chain Lightning is a fantastic skill. You hit multiple enemies and it chains, it jumps. And it does chip damage and it can even kill them. And it gets him a lot of EXP if he kills multiple enemies, so it's easy to level him up. In addition to that, you are leveling up mastery. This is the highest mastery growth in this class tree. And you want mastery. Mastery is going to be your most important stat for tanking. I can't emphasize this enough, and I'll show you why right now. Because once you're level 25 in Conduit, you can go back into Fragilin to get Defensive Fighter, but let's be real, none of these tier 2 classes will have a personal skill that is good for you. None of them. And none of them will really have a class skill that you want that much. I mean, you could use Charged Ki, that'll be good to boost your offenses, but you don't really care about that. You can use Defensive Stance to get to proc this, but you're not going to be doing that. I can guarantee you're not going to be using Chain Lightning or Defibrillate, and you're not going to be using Ravager Awareness or Stormborn. You will be using purely the GODfrost skill, Absolute Zero. If you are tanking with this build, the only thing you're going to use is Absolute Zero. Why? Because it gives you 33 defense and fortitude for 3 turns. Now, it's a whopping 90 cost mana, and I wouldn't improve the cost at all, because those 3 turns are more than enough to do what I'm going to show you how to do. You're going to increase the duration of the ability by 1 to give you those 3 turns. It's much better cost. 3 turns for 90 is 30 per turn, as opposed to 2 turns per 90, which is 45. Even if you take the reduction and you bring it down to 60, that's 2 turns for 60, which is 30 per turn, as opposed to 3 turns for 90, which is also 30 per turn. And you can get more defense and fortitude on top of that by scaling up. So take these two, it's a no-brainer. You get the same efficiency of mana by getting the extra turn, and you get more defense and fortitude, which is absolutely what you want. You need this. You need to stack your defense and fortitude as high as possible so you take no damage. That is the essence of what a tank does. They take no damage. Now, a major contributor to this defense and fortitude, and why I said mastery is most important, are your rings. So let's talk about the rings. I have the air ring, by far and away the best ring for this build. Increases your mastery by 1 for every 10 HP, up to a maximum of 10. He will hit that 100 HP. And you can give him elixirs. I haven't given him any elixirs except, surprise, surprise, 3 mastery elixirs. And I would recommend this. Give him your mastery elixirs. They are directly increasing the amount of defense and fortitude you will get. The Mystic Ring here is an interesting addition because it increases your mastery scaling again for all scaling abilities, so it will add defense and fortitude. Now, I don't know in the late game how deeply this will scale, but it is probably going to be equivalent to something like a Saint Ring, a Hollowed Ring, or even the Indomitable Ring. All 3 of these, the Indomitable one is pretty much the same unless you have it on someone else. All of those will give you 4 or 5 defense or fortitude or damage mitigation. It'll be about equivalent to the effect of the Mystic Ring. The Air Ring, no. The Air Ring is by far and away way better than any other ring that you can give to Zuhair. You need this. Let's talk about elixirs very briefly. You can see I have all of my elixirs, so I could even roid him up even more with defense and fortitude and give him 20 and 25 in defense and fortitude, and with that 33, that's 53 and 58. So great. Like, even then, without any support, at this point where we are, let's look at the map. 53, for defense. He's not taking any damage from this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. None of the physical units, except maybe these ones, the soldiers, will be doing 2 damage. 2 damage. The magic ones, 58, nothing from here, nothing from here, nothing from here. He's taking almost no damage. You can plop him in the middle, and I should have footage rolling in the background showing you this. He will take 0 damage. Even these ones, these strong ones, 58, they double him. He's got 58 fortitude without any more additional buffs. He's taking 0 times 2 from these sorcerers. They are the strongest magical enemy units in the game. Now let's go back to the inventory because we need to talk about weapons after we talk about rings and elixirs. So the battle axe is going to be his best weapon because you're only going to hit back once, and you can counterattack for 6 damage and add 25 of your already massive mastery, 25%, to that power. He's got 50 power with a 15 power weapon. In addition to that, I'm going to show you in a little bit how this build operates. You want him to get doubled and you want heavy weapons. Now the weight on the battle axe is 4. He gets doubled by almost everything except a few things on this map. So the stuff that's one range that he doesn't get doubled by, he can at least stand a chance to finish things off. But his best axe is the Mauler of Truth. And here's why. The Mauler has a base 6 weight, and you can see I also took True Strike, which adds 3 extra weight onto it. Now with this, he has 6 speed. And with 6 speed, he's getting doubled by everything in the game, while hitting back relatively respectively. There's an extra rune that you can't see because I don't have the runes, but it can give you 3 extra power to kind of offset this to get the 22 power, and you'll be at 48. So with the last one, we were at 50, which is decent. Here you'll be at 48 with lower speed, higher accuracy, higher crit, so slightly less hit, less damage, but still very, very strong and guaranteeing that you get doubled. Why does he need to get doubled? Well, this is where we go into the most important aspect of this build, which is who is going to support him. And that is 2 allies in this playthrough that I've been using to support him mainly. Number 1, Aegis Alden. Or Aegis anyone. Why? Because of Repulsor Shield. Well, he's not taking much damage, and he will hit back relatively hard, but the enemies here have a lot of HP, and Repulsor Shield is an excellent skill. I took the reduction in the mana cost and the increased duration because it allows it to last for 4 turns, almost the same number of turns, more turns than Absolute Zero. It will last for the duration of Absolute Zero. Very synergistic. And the decreased manage lets you cast it more. Why? Why is this so important? Well, I'll tell you. Repulsor Shield stacks. So if you have 1 stack of Repulsor Shield, you're taking 14 damage every time you get hit. If you have 2, 28, 3, 42, 4, 56. See where I'm going with this? The more stacks of Repulsor Shield, the more damage guaranteed you're reflecting back on your enemy. Now, if you have a refresher, you'll be able to stack tons of Repulsor Shields every turn with that refresher. And that's exactly what I advise you to do because like we talked about with the weapon, he's getting doubled by everything. And if he has just 4 stacks of Repulsor Shield, that's 56 damage per hit. That is 112 damage per round of combat, not including what he's dealing. Now, you're going to have more than 4 stacks of Repulsor Shield because what I would recommend is you bring your refresher and you bring 2 Aegises. Bring 2. I bring 2. That's mostly because I screwed up. If I could, I'd bring 3. I'd bring 4 because what he is going to do is he's just going to be able to march on down this map all the way. And everything the light touches is yours. No, wait, that's from Lion King. Everything that touches him will die just from Repulsor Shield. He will be invincible thanks to his high defenses and fortitudes, and untouchable because of Repulsor Shield. And to add to that, if there was any doubt in his survivability, I'm using him on fixed growths mode, by the way. So these are guaranteed levels. What you see here, guaranteed. Well, that's not the right person. Guaranteed levels. Every single one of them. I went Conduit all the way to 25, and then from 25 to 35 GODfrost. This is guaranteed. If you build him the way I did, you will have the same exact stats I do on fixed mode. If you have good RNG, great, you'll have more. If you have bad RNG, you'll have a little bit less. But if you have a little bit less, you can fix that with someone I call Viserion. Viserion has a really nice skill called Command, which gives you X amount of defense and fortitude for 2 turns. I took the ability that upgrades the number of turns that it lasts for, and to increase the scaling so I can get more defense and fortitude. He already gets 33 from his skills. He gets an extra 18 from this. That's 51. 51. That's 56 defense. Actually, 65 defense, and 62 fortitude. That's a lot. That is a lot. And I haven't even given him the elixirs yet. So by far and away, nothing is killing this guy. And if you really want to be ridiculous, this is the last thing I'll say. If you really, really want to be ridiculous, Absolute Zero stacks on itself. And so does Command. So it is very possible for you to have him in range of Lore Masters. And what Lore Masters do is, let's go to my Lore Master here, Alden. They have a skill called Making History. And allies within 2 tiles expend 15 less mana, 15%. This stacks multiplicatively. So at first you're spending 85% of the cost, and then 72, and then I think 65 is what happens after that. But 65% of 90 is give or take 61 mana, I think off the top of my head. So casting this for 61 mana, and then letting one of your Lore Masters, who's a Scholar, for me it was Aya, use Ancient Writ to give him more mana, 44 here with very minimal boosting. That puts him right back in range to use it again. And now he's got 66, 80 defense, 87 fortitude. And if you want to give him Viserion buffs times 2, that's 36. That's over 100 in each stat. Nothing will touch this guy. Absolutely nothing will touch this guy. So, like I said, Zuhair, a Lore Master, a couple of Aegises, and some Refreshers, which you already have. That's half your team to create an invincible unit. It's not even your entire team supporting the invincible unit. It's only half of your team, which I think is a very good deal. Relatively affordable, very self-sufficient. And if you don't want to support him at all, he will still get very respectable defense and fortitude just by using Absolute Zero as it is and having these rings. You can support him and make him absurd, which you're seeing on your screen right now. He's probably going crazy. Your jaw is dropping. You're like, what in the world has Link crafted? Trust me, this is nasty. I cleared this map in 4 turns, just casually walking slowly up the map every turn. I didn't even have to use phases for him. And if he doesn't finish off one of these Lancers, you can finish him off with anyone else in your unit. Like, you have a team of 10. You can finish him off with anyone else. Any other mage, anything else. You'll be able to pick off the stragglers, and he will just absolutely annihilate entire maps on his own, and then you can pick up the scraps afterwards. You can let the other half of your team handle anything else that you can't handle with him. But he will annihilate not even half the map, more than half the map. Like, most bosses are dying to 1 round. They're getting damage reflected all over. I sometimes have reflector shields on him. Like, I have 4... I don't have 4. I have 2 Aegises, so I have 8 repulsor shields on him at one time, because what you can do is you spend turn 1 buffing him. And then because this lasts for 4 turns, you can just wait out turn 1. You don't have to make him go on turn 1. On turn 2, you can buff him with another round of repulsor shields, and all of those repulsor shields will last for the duration of Absolute Zero, because they go for 4 turns. And so what you can do is, let's say the repulsor shields do 12 on average, and you've got 8 repulsor shields. That's 96 damage, I think, if my math is correct off the top of my head. 96 damage every time you get hit, and if you get doubled, that's 192 damage per round. Nothing in this game has 192 base HP, except maybe the final boss. Nothing. So you will 1 round every single unit in the game. That's how strong this build is. It is invincible. Invincible. Highly recommend for anyone who wants to give it a shot. And the only other units I think that can do this are maybe Saxon. I don't think the other ones are tanky enough or have good growths enough to try and go down this route. Saxon can do it, but he's going to have low fortitude because his growths in the Conduit class are not as good. His mastery is just a little bit lower, but his fortitude and defense equilibrate so he won't be as strong, but he can do it. He can do it. If you use the same amount of investment, you can do it with Saxon. I don't see why you can't do that. The amount of buffs are just absurd. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you thought of this build, and let me know if you're excited to use it or if you've even discovered this. But yeah, that's probably one of the most broken builds in the game. I'll catch you guys in another video very soon. I've got one more really good build that I want to share for my demonic playthrough. See if you can guess in the comments what that is. But with that out of the way, see you guys in another video very soon. Peace.